Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tea Time. I am here with the lovely, the brilliant, the beautiful Miss Talia. How are you?
Hello, hello. I am good. How are you?
Great. We got to spend the weekend together. We went
We
to we
did.
did some shopping.
Mm-hmm.
Had some fun. So great mood. Great way to start the week. Um, but we got something to talk about. This for all mankind episode. Kind of crazy. Kind of a banger. A lot of things going
Mm-hmm.
on. What was
Mm-hmm.
your first reaction?
All right. I don't even know where to start, honestly. I feel like we're about to get into like drama
Yes.
with a lot of little things happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the big things I'm just happy about is that NASA lands on Mars. They're
Yep.
getting settled. They're kind of making their like stomping grounds on this planet for the
Yep.
first time. That's kind of like one of the big things. I'm like, thank God, thank God we're here.
Right. That happened. That happened.
Exactly. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah. I was glad that it was considered like NASA winning.
Yes.
I really, really was happy with that because I was so annoyed when the Russians just hopped in. I'm like, come on, like you're a guest. What are you doing here? Like
Exactly.
you already lost because you don't have a ship. So I was glad that they was kind
Mm-hmm.
of considered okay. It's an American ship, but it was shocking that all of a sudden now we find out that they landed, but it was a bad landing. So now NASA's gonna need Helios's help, but
Yep.
they're gonna be stuck there for 2 years it seems. And I'm like, oh okay, because we talked about that where we were like, how are they gonna make it so that they all have to work
Mm-hmm.
together? And we
Mm-hmm.
predicted that, which is why you guys gotta make sure you subscribe because we
Yes,
called that
sir.
on like week two.
I'm
um,
like forgetting that like with the show they span the the decade like without us even noticing
oh
like
yeah,
it's gonna be like next episode it's gonna be like year two already.
right, yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's what's crazy I wonder if like part of them like doesn't even really want to do that because like, but it was just sort of like the trend of the first season because there's just so
Yeah.
much that they jump ahead of. Like
Mm-hmm.
we started out and they were like, oh, we're going in 4 years, and all of a sudden next episode it's like, all right, we're launching, and it's actually 2 years earlier, and you're like, what?
Yep.
And then they're in Mars, and that mission was supposed to take 3 years or something. So yeah, it's time jumping like crazy,
It
but
is.
at the same time, the characters and stuff aren't moving a ton. Like it's not changing a ton, which is a little
Mm-hmm.
weird. But it's one of those
Mm-hmm.
things you just sort of like accept. Like okay, in this world, this reality, it is what it is. Because obviously, if in 2 years, it's like they would have had some conversations and
Yeah.
like some of these things, but we just kind of ignore it
Mm-hmm.
because it's TV. Um, but the big thing to come out of this was that Will Tyler comes out as gay. So everyone
Mm-hmm.
is like, whoa, it creates this big issue.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think what it goes to show is like, when we were talking our trailer predictions for this season, we were like, maybe time has gotten more progressive because, the science has changed and people are more
Mm.
aware. But it
Mm-hmm.
turns out that, the more things change, the more they're the same. And so
Correct.
people are not very welcoming and accepting of him, which is a big
Mm-mm.
deal. And
It is.
it was interesting because like the way they kind of played it up to be, I kind of thought it was gonna be like a happy ending because it was like he's like I'm proud and come out, and I was like oh shoot, and then I thought they were gonna go to President Ellen where she's kind of like man I wish I could have done that sort of thing, but then it was like no.
Nope.
Did you see that curveball coming?
No, I didn't. I mean, I guess like to keep, stirring up the
The pot.
pot, like they're going to like
Yeah.
have her react a certain way about this.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that they went in that route of
Mm-hmm.
her just kind of, you know, not even expressing herself that
Right.
she's gay. But I think we will see it come out eventually. Like I don't know if it's gonna be the season though.
I know. I feel like it's a possibility that it might happen.
Uh-huh.
And then what we see is Roland, the Russian dude who works with him. Like they were like besties, doing everything together. And he gets really like his reaction is sort of like whoa, like this whole
Mhm.
AIDS epidemic thing, and like that was a big thing in more like the 70s, 80s, I believe. So it's a little
Yeah.
shocking that like he would say something like that in the 90s, and that's why Danielle is like, we took tests. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this isn't a thing. Come on.
Yeah.
And credit to Danielle too. Like we've been saying it from the jump. Like she's been so strong. Like
I
kind of keep her
know.
voice quiet. I really, in particularly, like the scene where like her and Will Tyler are talking back and forth, and she's talking about being like a woman and black in NASA for 20 years, and like basically saying like I
Mhm.
can understand where you're coming from, and obviously
Mhm.
Will Tyler said some things, and she said some things in the heat of the moment because everyone's emotional. And I thought they did a really good job of showing, like, 'cause I feel like that's a real thing. Like, I think a lot of us like to believe in the moment when someone shocks us, not just this, like anything, that we're gonna react better than we are. And I thought they did a
Yeah.
really good job of showing like a realistic reaction of how both of them would communicate back and forth.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think. Oh, I don't know how Danny does it in the show.
No.
Just like all the stuff that's on her plate with her strong, like just everyone, astronauts on her
Yeah.
flight, and just dealing with the Russians and just trying to figure out how to get back home safely. Oh man, it's
Yeah.
it's a lot.
And
It's a
then
lot.
yeah, and then we find out that the Russians are turning on NASA and joining Helios.
Yeah.
They found potentially water, but not just water that's frozen; it's liquids, which means that
Mhm.
it's surviving. And I think what's interesting too, obviously NASA's pissed about this, but it's interesting that Kelly, who's Ed's daughter, she sort of did something similar in Antarctica, and now that kind of gives her an importance of like, all right, she's got to be a part of the mission somehow, right?
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah.
what I wonder is if Ed is kind of crossing a line that he probably shouldn't, because it's like, hey, we're Helios, they're NASA, we're doing our own thing. Like to let her, I wouldn't be surprised if Kelly is the one to find life on Mars, and that would just flip everything because then it's
Mm.
like, damn, Helios is a double loser,
Yeah.
and that would create some serious
Yeah.
drama.
No, it definitely would. I think it would also be crazy if perhaps this liquid water isn't what they think it is. Like that would be
Mm,
that would just turn a lot of things.
yes.
Especially if like Ed's involved in that. Like what if it's actually dangerous and
Yeah. Yeah,
what
and
could happen to everyone after that?
right.
I have no clue.
And we saw Danny, like Danny, um at first I thought he was gonna like put his like hand in there and something was gonna come out, or it was gonna be
Mhm.
something to like really hurt him. So we saw that happen, and Danny this episode too, very strange in his behavior. He is digging into Ed's diaries and personal messages,
Oh my god.
and we found out that Ed basically looks at him as a son. So now that's even weirder because it's like
Mhm.
the whole thing with Karen, and I still kind of feel like he's gonna say it to Ed at some point. But like I'm just like, dude, at this point, like you almost gotta go to the grave. Like just keep your mouth shut. Like
He can't. He can't.
I
He's
know.
also taking so many drugs now.
Oh my
Like this
god.
kid has issues. Well, we already knew he kind of came into this
Right.
having issues with like alcohol and all that,
Yeah.
but it's like
Getting
now
worse.
it's even worse and you're on a different planet, so it's like you literally could just take a wrong turn and you'd be dead.
Yeah, yeah,
Um
yeah. Losing your mind. Like I thought for a second when his like glove or hand had got the hole, I was like, is he gonna do something stupid? Like you just don't know
mhm.
at any moment what he's gonna do.
Mhm.
It's crazy. And some of the scenes too, like really sad. You see Will Tyler just looking out into Mars on his own. Like I'm like, is he gonna take his helmet off? Like they're creating these sort of dramatic moments where you think something bad's gonna happen, and I think because of the precedent of the earlier seasons, and we haven't really had anything too like crazy yet happen. Like as far as deaths, like we had those deaths, but it wasn't the same as season 1 and season 2. So I'm guessing that this next episode we're gonna see something happen. Like
Oh yeah.
some sort of thing is gonna pop off.
Mhm.
We also see Kelly is hooking up with the Russian crew member, which is
Ah,
like
yes.
this, like the romance of this season. I kind of like them together. They're kind of cute. Um, but do you think Ed finds out about that?
Yeah.
Mm,
Absolutely. I thought that whole interaction when he was talking, when Alexei was talking to Ed, and he
yeah,
was like, I don't know who your daughter is. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know her name. And he's so offended. He's like, you don't know my daughter's
You're
name.
right, yeah, which is true, like which is why that's like and this is what I'm saying about this show that is so good is like the dialogue and stuff back and forth. It's like
Yes.
it's so authentic and real. Like of course you would say that. You're like, how do you not know my daughter's
Mm-hmm.
name? You've been together for 2 years. Like it was just
Exactly.
a dumb mistake, and he just wasn't really thinking because he's obviously nervous and likes her. And we didn't talk about it too much, but Margot and Sergey had that little
Mm,
moment where Sergey basically lets her know what's going on with the Russians, and she's also trying to get him pardoned or get their family
yeah.
extradited to America.
Uh-huh.
And I think we're gonna see sort of a parallel with that with Kelly. There also seems to be some sort of informant, so I'm wondering if Alexei is the one finding out dirt by falling in love with Kelly, and then we find out about that as
Mm.
well.
I hope he just doesn't like betray Kelly at
Same,
the end.
same,
I'm
yeah.
hoping not.
Because it sort of seems like it's almost this next generation thing, right? That's happening with those two that we
Mm-hmm.
saw with Margot and Sergey. This episode ends very crazy. So President Ellen and her husband Larry obviously feel empathy for Will Tyler because they also are closeted, and which is why they first got
Mm-hmm.
together. Which I remembered Ellen, but I almost forgot that Larry also had that, and so
Yeah.
that was like sort of their whole thing and how they got together. It was interesting to see like how would they tackle this because obviously they can't because they don't want to make the public upset, but at the same time they have empathy because they understand and gone through it. And
Mm-hmm.
so we get this don't ask, don't tell sort of bill thing that I believe Obama had originally made. And so now we're
Mm-hmm.
getting it 15, 20 years earlier. And this is
Yes.
sort of their compromise to make both sides happy and unhappy, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is clever, but it's unfortunate that Will Tyler will have to be discharged.
Yeah.
And transitioning in from that, we see that there's this DC dinner sort of thing happening. They're out at a bar,
Mm-hmm.
and the DC members, I wish I could remember the name. Apologies, but
Yeah.
one of the guys is actually sleeping with Larry, which I was very shocked about. I kind of thought that like both of them was just, you know what, this is our job. We're doing this now. Uh,
Yeah.
were you expecting that at all?
Mm. Well, I know. Well, Larry did have a relationship like before
Mm-hmm.
her campaign. I don't know. It's probably a different guy, obviously now.
Yeah,
But no, I'm not surprised that he's still,
out there.
out there and developing a relationship. It's just like you got to be careful with who you do it with.
Yeah,
And I feel like with politics and all that,
yeah,
it just leaks no matter how much you
yes,
seal it up. So it's very tragic to hear from
yes,
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
gonna be how the next plot is going to stir up with
yeah.
um
Larry,
yeah, and
yeah, and President Ellen.
yeah, Ellen. Yes, I
Yeah.
was gonna say Eleanor. I don't know why.
I always say that too. I was like, because they used to call. I think they used to call her Eleanor, because that was like her
Okay,
full name, and then she shortened it to be kind of probably cool or something like that
Ellen.
as
Okay,
president.
okay,
Yeah, Ellen.
okay.
But also, ironically, I didn't even think about that. Ellen DeGeneres is also a pretty.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
pretty big. I wonder if there was some sort of connection there.
maybe.
But so the episode ends where he's gossiping to this other person about
Mhm.
Larry, and then it kind of seems like it's gonna be hush hush, like just between us two. But it turns out that that guy is ready to leak that news out there. And how do
Mhm.
you think that's gonna affect President Ellen's presidency? Do you think she's gonna have to resign? Do you think that he's gonna they're gonna have to be removed? Do you think that this affects her going forward?
I just feel like they're gonna try to keep her still like I feel like with the plot they're gonna try to still keep her in the office because
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna need her eventually at the
For
end in
Margot,
case
right?
for Margot, for
Mm-hmm.
example. But I just don't know how she will let the world know
Yeah.
about her sexuality. Like I don't know how she's gonna do it, but I think she eventually will, hopefully.
Yeah, and I know hopefully, and it sort of seemed like there was this moment where she was like thinking about the office and her role and all that, and it sort of felt like she had this mentality of almost like, I know this job. A lot of times people don't do special or brave things, but we could be that, and I think she
Mm-hmm.
might. I think she might end up doing that, and that would be very interesting because I think even if her polls tank, even if things don't work out, I think she'll always
Mm-hmm.
be remembered. She is a hero. She is
Yeah.
a hero already, so people love her and she's got a ton of support. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think it could either boost her a lot or she might lose some support. But I think overall, she ends up being happy with who she is, which I think is going to be the overarching, like, you know what? Doesn't really matter because I'm happy. So,
Mm-hmm. I'm also curious, with like Danny's brother. I
yep.
forget his name again. I
Oh, yeah,
always
yeah.
I always
It's
forget,
like
but
Andrew or something.
yeah, we haven't seen him in quite a couple of episodes.
I
I
was
have a. It was just.
Yeah,
What
no,
were you
I
gonna
was
say?
thinking about that. Like, we
Uh
haven't
huh.
seen him, and then we also haven't seen what's her name? Not Maggie.
Molly.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we haven't seen her either. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering when these characters are gonna come back into play.
No, because I'm like afraid with like his brother. I don't know why, because I feel like the last time we saw him, we were
Mhm.
just getting a weird vibe with, the group of people just really
Mhm.
against Ellen about space and whatnot.
Yeah.
I just hope he doesn't get involved in some sort of like
Yeah, like
violent
assassination sort of
situation.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because like I feel like they can definitely go in that route.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of routes that they can go with this, and you think about historical precedents of like people being assassinated and
Mhm.
people stepping down because of scandals and all that. Like,
Mhm.
but I think like I think they might go a more of a happier route or the route we want to see. I really feel like that line where Will Tyler was talking about you know Earth, they have these rules, this way of life, whatever. This
Mhm.
could be us in a brave new world, in a fresh new world. And
Mm.
I think that's sort of what For All Mankind is trying to show us is, society could be better. We could be great. And so I sort of think that there's going to be a happy ending, but
I hope so.
we
Because that
shall
last
see.
shot of Will, I was a little concerned. I thought he was
Yeah,
going to like commit suicide or
same.
something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, he's going to take his helmet off, or I hope not. I
Yeah,
really hope
I
not. That'd
hope
be,
not. Oh
oh,
God.
just tragic. But man, all right. Well, that's gonna do it for episode 6. Let us know in the comments down below what you think. Make sure you subscribe because we make new videos every single week. And yeah, we will see you in the next video.